Folks, many of you may not be familiar with the term, at least kiss me before you, I'm going to clean it up, screw me. But that's what I thought of when I had to search for a picture of Donald Trump in this particular pose. Because when I saw the budget that Mr. Trump proposes, I just felt like he was basically kissing us before he was getting ready to screw us. Now, for those of you who don't know what's going on as far as the budget proposal Mr. Trump has put forth, let me hip you to what's going on. Donald Trump's budget basically is going to increase defense spending by 9%. It's also going to increase Homeland Security spending by about 7%. It's going to cut the EPA budget, you know, the agency that's responsible for making sure that we have clean air and clean water. That agency, he's cutting them by 31%. And he's going to cut the State Department budget by 29%. You know, the department that's supposed to try to keep us out of wars through diplomacy. So a person's heart is where their pocketbook is a phrase that I've heard often. In this case, I believe it's apropos. I think that President Trump is more interested in getting us into military confrontations than avoiding them. If that wasn't in fact the case, he would have put more money into the State Department, i.e. diplomacy, and less money into defense spending. Now, we can go back and forth regarding Homeland Security, but the real reason Homeland Security basically is going up, in my opinion, is because of that bullshit wall that he is proposing an allocation of almost $3 billion towards. Now, let me just break down exactly where we are as far as this budget is concerned. I stated earlier that he is going to slash the Environmental Protection Agency by 31%. So that means less inspections, less testings of water, air, etc. He's already shown his colors by signing that the executive order reducing the restrictions on mining so that they are able now to pollute our streams and waters with the pollutants that are extracted during their mining procedures. So that should have told you something right there. How the hell that this country can advocate for an increase in our defense budget by $54 billion when we already spend more on defense than the next 9 nations put together is beyond me. It looks like what we are preparing to do and what we've always done is put money into being able to wage war instead of putting money into things that would help us to prevent from waging war. I don't know about you, but I don't think we need another nuclear aircraft carrier. We don't need a whole lot more state-of-the-art jets. You know, now I'm not going to argue about maintenance and parts, etc., etc. And if they poured money into that, you know, there really couldn't be much of an argument as long as they were going to maintain our existing hardware. But for us to go out there and take $54 billion out of social programs to put it into something that everyday people are not going to benefit from, And yeah, they're not going to benefit from that, because if somebody wanted to get down with the United States today on any format other than nuclear, we would be able to kick their butts. Nobody is invading this country, period. End of story. And the name of the game is defense, the defense budget, not the offense budget, the defense budget, i.e. for the defense of this country. Now, you may consider the defense of this country going out there and whipping everybody else's butt, or anybody else's butt that we choose to, and you may call that defense, but I don't. It may be considered not cool to not want to get out there and flex our muscles and tell everybody else in the world that we are the baddest man in the land. But, you know, I'm sorry. When it comes to having the ability to say that, or having the ability to affect positively the lives of everyday citizens, i.e. education, college, jobs, our own infrastructure. Now, I'm not going to sign up for that deal. That $54 billion could have generated, or will generate, many more benefits for all of the American people if it's spent right here. And I'm not talking about lining the pockets of the defense contractors and all of the political people that are going to get kickbacks from them. Now, again, that budget basically is going to hurt a lot of people. Now, funny thing about this particular budget, and let me try to go through a few specific things. He's going to increase the budget for defense by $54 billion. You got for Homeland Security, a $2.6 billion increase, which is going to go primarily to building that bullshit wall, which we don't need. And then $1.4 billion in order to accelerate what they call the voucher program or school choice. Now, as I stated, the Environmental Protection Agency takes it in the neck. They get hit for a 31% reduction. The State Department gets hit for 29%. And I believe the Department of Agriculture gets hit for 21% reduction. But here are the rest of the cuts. The Labor Department is going to take a 21% cut. The Department of Health and Human Resources, you know, the thing that's supposed to be dealing with our health care and the American Health Care Act, that's supposed to take an 18% cut. The Commerce Department is supposed to take a 16% cut. Somehow, and I can't figure this one out, but the Education Department is supposed to take a 14% cut, even with that additional $1.4 billion allocated out to advocate for school choice. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is going to take a 13% cut. Transportation takes a 13% cut. The Department of the Interior takes a 12% cut. The Energy Department takes a 6% cut. The SBA takes a 5% cut. Treasury takes a 4% cut. Justice takes a 4% cut. And NASA takes a 1% cut. So that's basically where the pluses and the minuses are. Now, getting back to the American Health Care Act, you do realize that if they get this thing through, which I absolutely don't believe that they will, they just have too many people that are against this thing, just on the Republican side alone. The far right is against it because they say it's not draconian enough, and the moderate Republicans are against it because they believe that it hurts too many people. So they won't be able to get that 218 votes in the House that they need in order to pass it. But even if they do, there are at least 4 Republican senators that are already on record as saying that they will not vote for that particular bill. And all we really need are 2. But let me just give you a few of the highlights where some of the cuts are coming from. This budget eliminates $200 million from the McGovern-Dole International Food for Education program. It eliminates $500 million from the Water and Wastewater Loan and Grant program. That's a program that deals with water treatment throughout the country. It cuts women's, infants, and children's nutritional assistance, you know, the breakfast programs in schools. It cuts that by $200 million. It also cuts $95 million from the Rural Business and Cooperative Service. You know, that helps people, small businesses actually, to get help, especially when they're located in rural areas and where they absolutely need it. Out of the Commerce Department, he's cutting $250 million from coastal research programs that prepare communities for rising seas and worsening storms. Climate change. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Trump basically said they are no longer going to be active on the climate change frontier. They've eliminated $73 million in monies that go to grants that work with various universities in 33 states that deal with oceanography. They're eliminating the Economic Development Administration that gives out grants in struggling communities. So the EDA is gone. They're cutting federal funding to manufacturing extension partnerships. Now, Mr. Trump talked about bringing our manufacturing jobs back, but he's cutting the money that would definitely help to do so. You know, the military, I just took a look at where the military increase in spending is going to be. He's going to increase the size of the Army and Marine Corps. That's for personnel, for people like me and you, our kids and grandkids, to serve in the military, where his kids and grandkids will not see a boot camp or anything else. And if they reinstitute the draft, which is a firm possibility, you know damn well that those that have are going to get deferments, and those that have not are going to be the ones that are out there on the front lines. He's also talking about, or his budget allocates money to increase the number of ships in the Navy's fleet. We already have more than everybody else. He wants to buy an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, and he wants the production accelerated so he can get that online faster. And he wants to increase spending to keep Air Force combat planes ready to fly. Now that piece I'm not going to disagree with. As far as the Education Department, he's cutting $3.7 billion in grants for teacher training, after school and summer programs, and aid programs to first generation and low income students. That's where you get your real bang for your buck, especially the after school and summer programs. That keeps kids from getting into problems that are going to take them out of the educational system and put them into the prison system. But of course, you know, he's not interested in that. The cuts are also going to significantly reduce the federal work-study aid to college students. You know, I took advantage of that, and that one was a pretty good one. But the good news is he's increasing charter school funding by $168 million. I wonder if Betsy DeVos got in his ear on that one. He's also creating new private school choice programs, and he's going to fund that with $250 million. And then he's going to spend another $1 billion to encourage districts to allow federal dollars meant for low-income students to follow those students to the public school of their choice. The Energy Department, is going to take a $900 million hit for the Office of Science. It's eliminating the Energy Star Weatherization Assistance Program, the ARPA program, the Advanced Technology Vehicle Manufacturing Program, and Title 17 loan guarantees. You know that when you go out there and buy that refrigerator or that stove or that washing machine, and there's a sticker on it, and on the sticker the words Energy Star, and it gives a rating on how energy efficient that appliance is. Well, that's part of the program, but the Energy Star program also goes out and helps people to weatherize their houses. So they'll come in and they'll put weather stripping around your doors. They'll replace windows that leak a lot of energy. They'll even come in and replace furnaces and air conditioners that are really inefficient. Now those, you got to kind of lobby a little bit with them on those, but I have seen them actually come out and actually replace poor people's furnaces and air conditioners. You know, if they had air conditioners, normally they didn't have the air conditioner, but they had the furnace. I've seen them come out and replace furnaces that were much more energy efficient. Yeah. So those are gone. Oh, and he's giving the Yucca Mountain project $120 million to restart licensing operations. For those of you who don't know what the Yucca Mountain project is, that's where we dump our nuclear waste. Now that project had been shut down, and the people in Nevada were like going apeshit about it, and I don't blame them. Well, guess what? He's restarting that project, and we're going to start, it looks like, dumping nuclear waste in Nevada again. The cuts in the Department of Health and Human Services basically are in the funding for the National Institute of Health and certain programs to train health professionals, but he is going to increase funding for efforts to prevent and treat opioid addiction. So I guess that needle in the arm must have had an effect on him. The National Institute of Health basically is going to have its Fogarty International Center eliminated, which is the key component for partnerships between the United States and foreign health research institutions. Again, I mentioned that the Department of Homeland Security is going to get a nice bump, and that's basically due to the wall that's going to be built. But folks, for those of you who fly, the TSA passenger security fee which is currently $5.60 for passengers flying out of U.S. airports, that's going up. So a few more shekels out of your pocket on that one. Now, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, he is eliminating $3 billion Community Development Block Grant Program. So for all of you entrepreneurs who are looking for a little help from the government in business development, that's gone. He's eliminating the Home Investment Partnership Program. That's help that the government gives you in buying or fixing up your homes. He's also eliminating the Choice Neighborhoods Program and the Self-Help Home Ownership Opportunity Program. Again, all programs designed to help people get into properly become homeowners. He's also eliminating $35 million of funding for Section 4 community development and affordable housing, but he is raising funding for lead hazard reductions from $110 million to $130 million. So net, that's a $6 billion reduction in housing and urban development. For the Department of Interior, he's eliminating funding that takes care of 49 national historic sites. So I guess they're going to be allowed to crumble like our infrastructure. He's decreasing funding for land acquisition by $120 million. Well, that in itself is not bad. they've been trying to sell off land, so hopefully they'll leave that piece alone. And wildfires. The Justice Department, though, is he's cutting funding to reimburse state and local governments for costs of incarcerating certain undocumented immigrants. So it's lock them up, but the federal government is not going to pay for you state and local municipalities to lock them up. So I suggest you all become sanctuary cities and let the federal authorities snatch up these guys and bring them to federal facilities in order to house them, because if you house them, you ain't getting paid back. He's cutting almost $1 billion of funding for federal prison construction, i.e. the private prison industry is jumping up and down for joy because they know that they're going to have damn near 100% capacity. And by the way, it's more expensive to house criminals in these private prison facilities than it is for government-owned facilities. But, you know, who gives a damn about that? But he is adding $249 million of funding for the FBI, which should go largely to counterterrorism, cyber threats, and more timely firearm purchase background checks and more crime data. So for those of you who want to get that silencer or that class 4 item, hopefully they'll be able to process those applications a lot faster, because currently it's taking anywhere from 6 to 9 months and that's if you have a clean record, to process an application to get a class 3 or a class 4 item, i.e. a silencer, I shouldn't say, well, a rapid fire weapon, or explosive materials, let's just call them. So that, you know, they're putting more money into that to make it easier, so I guess the NRA is going to be happy about that one. Now, as far as the Labor Department, they're eliminating the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which helps low-income seniors find work. They're closing poor performing centers for Job Corps, a job training program for disadvantaged youths, and they're eliminating grants that help nonprofit groups and public agencies pay for safety and health training. But they are expanding efforts to reduce improper payments made to people receiving unemployment benefits. Too bad that they don't take that same tact with the Defense Department, because they themselves have acknowledged that, I believe it was last year, they identified $585 million worth of fraud and waste, and they weren't even looking for that money when they came across it. I wonder how much more they could find if they actually looked. Now, I told you about the climate change walk away from. Well, the State Department is now going to eliminate climate change prevention programs, including pledge payments to UN climate change programs. They're reducing funding for UN peacekeeping. They're reducing funding for development banks such as the World Bank, and they're reducing most cultural exchange programs. So that's really going to help us to make nice with the rest of the world. The Transportation Department is shifting air traffic control outside of the government. So now the air traffic controllers are going to be private, no longer government employees. So Ronnie Reagan, I guess he's turning over in his grave. They're eliminating funding for many new transit projects and support for long-distance Amtrak trains. So much for infrastructure and high-speed rail. They're eliminating $175 million in subsidies for commercial flights to rural airports. So for all of you people living in towns like Greensboro or Fresno, Corsicana, etc., you can forget about the flight service out of those towns. You're going to have to get in your cars and drive to major cities that have, I guess, international airports, because anything else, money is gone from helping to maintain those particular spokes on the hub. He's also cutting $499 million from the Tiger Grant Program, which has funded dozens of road, transit, and other projects. The Treasury Department gets a reduction in funding for the Internal Revenue Service, $239 million. So I guess that's going to further slow down the audit that Mr. Trump is undergoing presently on his tax returns for the last 7 years. And the Treasury Department is also eliminating grants for community development financial institutions which provide financial services in economically depressed neighborhoods. So, just another license to rip off poor people. The Department of Veterans Affairs, though, they get a little benefit. They add $4.4 billion in new funding to expand health services and modernize the VA's benefit claim system and other services. The EPA, here we go. They're eliminating more than 50 programs and 3,200 jobs. They're discontinuing funding for international climate change programs. They're cutting funding for the Office of Research and Development in half. They're cutting funding for the Superfund Cleanup Program and the Office of Enforcement and Compliance. But they are prioritizing drinking water and wastewater infrastructure projects. But there's going to be no money for that. NASA, and they're cutting $102 million of funding for Earth science, and they're terminating 4 missions aimed at understanding climate change. You know, anything to do with climate change is a no-no. They're eliminating $115 million from the Office of Education, and they're cutting $88 million from the Robotic Refueling Mission, which developed techniques to repair satellites. The SBA is next online. They're eliminating prime technical assistance grants, growth accelerators, and regional innovation clusters, saving about $12 million, and they're cutting $1 million of $46 million of loan guarantees currently available to small business owners. So yeah, that one in itself is not really going to hurt all that much. The arts and cultural agencies are gone. They're eliminating all $148 million for the National Endowment for the Arts and all $148 million for the National Endowment for the Humanities. They're eliminating $230 million for the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, Smithsonian, and they're eliminating $445 million for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS. Okay, so Sesame Street, adios amiga. In total, the budget proposes to eliminate funding for the following 19 agencies: African Development Foundation, Appalachian Regional Commission, you know those people in Appalachia who don't have jobs and they need help, well that's gone. Chemical Safety Board, the Corporation for National and Community Service, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Delta Regional Authority, the Nolly Commission, Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, Inter-American Foundation, U.S. Trade and Development Agencies, Legal Services Corporation, National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, Neighborhood Reinvestment Corporation, Northern Border Regional Commission, that's between us and Canada, Overseas Private Investment Corporation, which generates jobs here, U.S. Institute of Peace, well, he's not interested in peace because he's jacking up the defense budget, the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, yeah, we don't really have any problem with homeless people, in particular vets, and the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. This budget is an abortion, but it gives the Republicans wet dreams just thinking about getting all of this stuff done. I'm going to repeat this until I'm blue in the face. Elections have consequences. You let this guy get in here. You didn't you didn't flip the Senate. You didn't get the House closer than it is, even though there was little likelihood of it flipping, but you could have really tightened it up. You didn't do it, and now the chickens are coming home to roost, and there are going to be a lot of Trump voters out there that are really going to bear the brunt of this particular budget. I cannot wait to see the AHCA debates if they favor us with televised debates on the floor, because thus far they've handled all of the procedures that have to go through committee. Those have all been undertaken in the dead of the night, so we haven't been able to watch those. But the debate on this thing is going to be something to behold. Donald Trump gets this budget, batten down the hatches.